Hello, hello, hello. This is the Cosmic Queer Podcast. This is my first stream, and I don't really have a green screen. As you can see, not that great, but we're doing our best. I'll get a green screen eventually if I keep wanting to do this. So, today, we've got some coffee, we've taken our meds, and we are going to go through how exactly could some gay socialist vegan cult perhaps save the world, do great damage, maybe damage in a good way, as in help so many people that it significantly changes how things are done in particular communities for the better, feeding people for free, that kind of thing. How could you actually do all of this stuff? Because if there's one thing that I'm great at, it's doing like if I did it scenarios or just concocting massive grand schemes and plans, and generally having no means to actually make them true because I'm not some billionaire. But you know what? If you gave me some money, I might do some of these things. Some of them aren't too crazy. But every plan, of course, starts with some money. Of course. Oh, and before we get into it, I would just like to say I think this is in the theme of our great news media right now of Luigi, who I'm not sure if that's the actual guy that they caught. I won't get into it since we're not doing like news right now. Not sure if that's the actual guy that they caught. I have some suspicions based on things that I've seen, but who knows? I'm just looking at stuff on the internet, you know? But I will say, I hope people start getting riled up. Obviously don't condone violence, but I hope it starts changing the way people think about how we handle things and the fact that we can handle things and do things. And that's kind of like the theme of this think tank, this like one person think tank of an episode that we're doing. Uh, and that's kind of like what's going to be the theme of a lot of episodes like this. So, this is a think tank. I want to do massive chaotic good. How do I do it? So, of course, you need money, you need funding for anything. How can you get anything done without money? But how could we do it with like the smallest amount of money possible? And of course, we're thinking in this world here with me and you in this bubble, this think tank of chaotic good, anything is possible. We don't say no to doing anything. We just think, how could we make it possible with the least amount of money and effort in a way that isn't magical, in a way that some people could truly do, some people could truly pull off? So, money. First, I think that if you were going to do massive, massive good in a society, when I think of good and when I think of like the basic needs that we need in communities, the most basic needs, I think, food. Like people don't have access to food. And then there's a lot of communities where people do have access to a lot of food, but maybe they're ashamed to take it, because there's a lot of programs for homeless people that give food. And, there could be argument that there's not enough or, whatever. But there's programs that give homeless people to give food to homeless people, right? Uh, and homeless people are, you know, they are more used to like, people see them as homeless, so their whole take on it is very different. They're just like, they've kind of accepted like, yes, I am one of the lower parts of society, that this is how people view me. Free food, great, give me free food, and as long as it's packaged and cooked correctly, they'll take it willingly, fine. And that's great. As people should, everybody should eat free food. And this is what I'm getting at. I think the best chaotic good that you can do in a society is give free food. And so I think that homeless programs that have free food are doing great and could use support. But there is a lower middle class society of people who should be eating free food, or at least, supplementing some of their diet with it. And there are places, and this is not all areas, but there are a lot of places, especially in major cities, where they have a lot of free food to give away, like food pantries, free grocery programs, and stuff. And oftentimes, they can't even find enough people to give all this food away to, you know? So, and the issue is not because, people don't need the food. It's that now that we've come from homeless to like lower class, now people have, they still have like this training in their mind of looking down on people who are lower than them, whereas a lot of homeless people don't really feel like there's people lower than them, so they'll take any help, and they've accepted it, like I said. But people that think that think that they might have something more, something better than other people, they have it locked in their minds that they cannot accept help. Especially a lot of like ethnic cultures, like people will not accept even money if you gave it to them. There's a lot of ethnic cultures where like people could be literally like need it bad, and if you're just like here, they'd be like no, 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 no. So we have this big problem in like middle and lower class communities, where we need to break the stigma of eating for free, because eating for free is not only a good deed, it is a major hit to a system that charges people to eat food. Food is, and I have not done the numbers. Okay. So, we're thinking broad. But food is like the number one thing, the number one product, period, that makes money in the society and keeps particular powers rich, because people need food. People gonna be eating. Like it doesn't matter. Even like if you are on the street, you have nothing, you are going to eat, and that food came from somebody, and that somebody got paid for that food. So the biggest people, the corporations, all the major like investment firms like BlackRock and the other one, and all the other ones. People forget a lot of this is like grocery money. A lot of this is like farm money, because we eat every day. A lot of this is different food products. So the most radical act that you can do in a capitalistic society is to eat for free. And of course, this is all hypothetical to the FBI. I have no plans. I have no money currently. But if I was, and I did receive money to do some of this, it would all be through legal channels. So that's another part of this, because I love to do like little think tanks on my own of like, oh, what if you just like went against the system and did all this stuff, and maybe we'll do one of those too. Because it's all hypothetical, we're just thinking here. But in this case, I think it's good to do these thought experiments in a very legal fashion, because you could do this. Like, go ahead, organize, or start absorbing these ideas more. So where was I? So the most money pretty much in society, period, is made through grocery. So first, we get back to our first thing. We need to raise money for our plans if we want to give free food away, right? So I think, one, I wrote myself a little list, but I probably should expand it a little bit. But you could hypothetically, and of course this isn't like a great idea, but you could hypothetically, let's say, you get a group of volunteers together, get yourselves some nice shirts. uh we'll make up some numbers. Let's say, I don't know, you get yourself maybe like 100 volunteers, right? You guys get yourself some nice company shirts. All those shirts maybe cost you like $10 a piece, so we're at like a grand already, right? You spend a grand, get some company shirts. You guys go out with clipboards and buckets and stuff, and just start collecting money. You're saying, we're raising money to feed our communities. We are giving free food, all that good stuff. Create this business, maybe get a domain name, even, right? You spend, your money on your shirts, $1,500 max. Although I will say, you could probably go cheap and do that, damn near for free. Craft some uh little signs and stuff, but keep it professional so people think you're a business. Uh and you can just beg for the money. You can go that way. You can go the professional panhandling route, raise all the money you need, right? And let's say over some time, we raise like 100 grand doing that. And of course, I mean, there actually are a lot of businesses that are raising well over 100 grand begging for money, like churches and like the what kind of people try to hire me, like the the people begging for donations, all that kind of stuff, and then they barely help the people when the CEOs get rich. But anyways, so this is like begging for money, $1 billion industry. It's not just something that homeless people are doing. So let's say we got all of our money, our 100 grand that way, our first 100K, right? We can use that 100K to start buying land in the desert, right? Arizona is a great place. Arizona's a little hot, but it is a great place. Cheap land, cheap desert views. In the winter, it's beautiful, just like this. But also a great place, a little cooler, maybe a bit more habitable, less Martian, is Los Angeles, or not Los Angeles, but California, greater California area, and some of the greater Los Angeles County area of like Palmdale and Lancaster and California City, these kinds of areas, like what what somebody from LA would say is the absolute boonies, like not even like the hood, just like the boonies, right? These nowhere ass places, and further than that, deep into like San Bernardino County has great land. And I have like no proof of this, but low key, like I think they're trying, like, because they're trying to like separate, like they want to like not be a part of California. And I think it's because like they know that like once people's minds start percolating and things change a bit, like people are gonna realize that like all of the like cheap land out there, people could just be like fuck it and like leave and just like live off the land, like once they learn how to do it, which isn't that difficult. So we're kind of talking about that now. So hold on. So these areas, absolute middle of nowhere, a lot of it's dirt roads. But because of that, you can get land sometimes for less than $1,000 per acre. So with our 100K in these deserted lands of these places, like let's say, San Bernardino, write that down. San Bernardino, these Arizona type places. I don't really know cities in Arizona like that. Uh, but like I was saying, about 1,000 an acre, sometimes less if you're really in the middle of nowhere with like no like resources and no people. But some of these areas, like I bought some land, I'm still paying it off. But my land is in the middle of nowhere. Uh, just keeping it as an investment for now. Uh, but if you drive 10 minutes, there is like a burger place. It's not like McDonald's, but it's like a middle of nowhere burger place. And then like you drive a little further and there's more people. So I kind of got some stuff. And even there, very cheap stuff because if I can afford it, it's cheap, right? So let's say we spent like 10 grand, right? We could spend about 10K on our first property. And let's say we got 10 acres for 10K, because I've literally seen those prices before, especially, desert, 10K, 10 acres, right? So we so for the purposes of the thought experiment, let's just say we are absolutely in San Bernardino, right? So what we can do is get the dirt from there and begin to create everything we need, starting at a cost of about, let's say, 10K per livable building. Right? So the grand idea here is what you can do is buy land for cheap, build some buildings through the technique that I'm going to show, and get a particular type of people here that would love to live off the land, help people, and make money in a non-conventional type of way, right? And what you can do is give these people small little like thousand uh what are the square foot, or maybe like 2,000 square feet. They can have uh a miniature 500 square foot hyper adobe home that you can build from the literal dirt that is on the property. And even if you needed to get like more dirt delivered, like clay to stabilize the soil, which we'll talk about in a second, you like when you're doing construction projects like this and you're getting dirt delivered, this stuff is literally like 100, maybe $50 per like 10 tons. Like you can get it there and not have to spend a lot of money. You still have to spend money to get these uh, earthen structures made, but they are legal. They are fully durable. You can make them earthquake proof and more durable. And you have most of the material right there on your property to create these structures, right? So we get the land, we build some structures that are livable and workable, and then you just regenerate this desert land and begin farming. And to get back to what I was saying with we have our 10 acres. So if on our 10 acres we create, and sorry, I'm so ADHD, I know I'm all over the place. On these 10 acres, if we create little, let's say, 2,000 square foot miniature properties. Let me pull up something to add to what I am saying here. So you could have people building these structures. Here is a little video from some cool people. These are called Earth Bag. Earth Bag is like the super generic name, but it was this technique was called Super Adobe, and it was made by this architect Khalil. I forget his last name just offhand, and he's a super cool guy. That it was an architect that invented Super Adobe, in which you link these bags together with what do you call it? Barbed wire, and you stack them in a particular way and create a dome geometry. And this ends up being one of the strongest shapes that you can create. And these things are earthquake proof, they're bulletproof, and especially so when you use cement within the dirt. Some people just use it as like a sandbag structure for just temporary things, but once you add cement, this is a totally legal and extremely stable way to build a permanent, solid structure for extremely cheap. So something about this size that you see would cost somebody about 3 grand in materials to make. And of course, if you wanted to, you could just sleep in there. But if I was offering people something, I would definitely make something a little bigger. I think they're just making like a shed right now because you want space for a bathroom and all that. But all of that, the bathroom, the entire structure can be made from the dirt, especially when you do the dome like this, as you see. Well, they yeah, they took a different route and they didn't finish their dome properly, so they're doing a wooden roof, but done the correct way that Khalil uh, created. You finish the dome with the dirt, and it just encapsulates up to the top and creates almost like a little pyramid top. And it's like one of the absolute strongest structures on the planet to live in. And you don't have to get extra roofing materials because you can just keep closing it off from the dirt in that way. So it's a very efficient way to build structures. These people seem to have built a little shed, which is cool. Okay, so here is somebody giving like a tour of the inside of a super Adobe dome that was done correctly. And since Khalil Nadir has died, the Cal Earth project has still gone on, and they do education, and they have actually just finally finished uh, this long process to get this building technique legalized through the International Building Committee, one of the toughest. And we also have extremely tough codes, building codes out here in California because of earthquakes and stuff. Like, so some places, as long as you buy a permit, you know, from the county, they'll let you build something out of twigs and, whatever you can find laying around in the woods. Sorry. But other places have very, very strict building codes where you need to really follow things. And before Cal Earth got all of this officialized, oh, I don't even know if that's a word, before they went through this process to get it, official with this International Building Committee and with California, it was very iffy if you could get one of these buildings put up. It was like really on a case by case basis, and they did not know what this stuff was, and they didn't know how to test it, and a lot of them just did not feel comfortable letting you have one of these buildings up. But because of Cal Earth, Super Adobe has gone through the ringer, and you can go on Cal Earth and show them the papers and be like, this is earthquake proof, this is legal, and all that. So great company. And since then, people have actually improved upon the process where you can, instead of using the barbed wire to mend these bags together, people are using uh, fruit bags. And that is, it's like they have like a mesh. So through the mesh, the cement and dirt mixture, because you're using a mixture of dirt and sand and a little Portland cement, through that, put in the fruit bags laid on top of each other in the same way, the substances can touch, the cement can touch itself and lock into itself. So taking away the barbed wire, and then the fact that this bag is mesh, so it's just less plastic and stuff in general, it's a little better for the environment, but also it makes this process of building these structures even more affordable. So Hyper Adobe hasn't been quite run through the ringer yet, but Super Adobe is still super affordable, and that can be done in California. But Hyper Adobe, outside of California, a lot of this stuff you can just do it. You can just do this stuff, uh, and even out here, if you really, really work with them, you might be able to do whatever you want to do. So these structures can be built very cheaply. Structure like the one this man is showing off right now, uh, in cost probably cost like 10K, right? So getting back to our creating this better world. So you can create these structures for super cheap, and you could even start off with, let's say, one or two structures on the 10-acre property that we are talking about, right? And with these, once you have livable space on these properties, and you don't even have to, like, one of the hardest things I would say that really makes a property more expensive is always going to be water. So water catch systems for rainwater are probably the most affordable. So that will probably be the route to go to get people this water. Well water is a great resource, but so expensive to get a well sometimes. So once you get people water in that way, and maybe you get some people who are about this, people who really just who love living like this, who want to live on the property, and you put in some composting toilets, because don't even get me started on the way that we shit into clean potable water and then send it to the sewer and then clean that water again and then drink it. It's insane. Like, we could literally compost our waste into clean compost through hot compost, kill all the bad stuff, make it usable fertilizer to grow crops, and have it not get you sick. All you have to do is properly compost. Uh, we'll talk about that in another episode, but I think composting, rainwater catch on our buildings, right? We're on the property. We get the people in there, even if it's me, right? And one of my friends. We're the first people that start. Me, one of the friends, we're in here in our little buildings. And what do we do from here? We start regenerating the land, of course. Regenerate. Okay, so just to go back a little bit, we are going to regenerate that land. But I forgot, to have these buildings built is another great system that I would create within this think tank of systems and whatever it is I'm doing right now, right? Is to get the buildings built, and something that I think that we could install within society, because these types of buildings are so easy to create. It would be lovely to have people that have like carpentry knowledge and stuff like that, but you don't need much to do these things. You could have literally one, maybe two people with experience that could lead large teams of people who are just, smart people willing to learn, right? So, what I think could be a cool system, and this could also be its own episode, but a brief once over for its part in this, is having groups of volunteers of people that are willing to put their money in. Because let's say I already have the money, right? I've already got my 100K because me and the homies begged for it around town, right? So I I want to give back to the people. So like I want to pay people and I want them to feel good, but I also need this money to, continue building what I'm building. So how do we get people to volunteer? Well, because in my case, if I did have the money, I would just pay people to do this. But let's say I needed to get this part done for free because this is something that I think people should do anyways. Gather groups of people, like people who don't have much going on right now, and maybe not even for the perspective future, right? People who live with their parents and are like 30, people who have horrible job history, right? Like they can't really hold a job, people who are living in their cars, and people who are homeless but can get to this job site, right? Gather these people, and also gather, like, let's say, yeah, gather all these people, and you could do a deal. Like, if you have money, let's say you show up, and you if you have some money, show up, have already bought a piece of land, and join this group to help me build my buildings, then I help you build a building on your land. Like, I don't know if I'm explaining this properly, but the idea is to kind of build a system that mimics what good communities do in other cultures where people don't have a lot of money but people have houses, because the community has knowledge of how to create homes, and they gather the community when a couple gets married or whatever is like their introduction to adulthood, and the community will build them a home. So the idea here is to introduce a system like that into the communities and into this big system of how do we help people with chaotic good, and also how do we cheaply get some of our buildings built, so that we can produce more chaotic good, right? So there needs to be some type of system of, you sign up to build some houses, to take some classes, let's say, a 4-day, 8-hour a day course, and we're teaching you how to do this process. And you sign up and you agree, because you're one of these people that doesn't have much going on, and you agree for the next, let's say, one, however long however long it takes, you agree that you're going to do a particular amount of days building a particular amount of houses or structures, right? And other people sign on to do this as well. And we either, the people pool their money in, or through some type of, or through more begging on the streets, let's say, or through some other money generating thing that has not been thought of yet, we each just take turns building each other's structures. Like, there could definitely be a way to get people in small groups of people, because what I've just showed you, small groups of people can create these structures. Even on larger scales, it doesn't take that many people, it just takes time dedication and either the money to pay those people, or the people need incentive to build those buildings. And what better incentive to help somebody build their home than you also get a home, right? So that's what I'm trying to, I guess, create in this world that we're building that could be built very easily. We need to have some type of list you sign up on. I agree to do 100 days of building on projects, right? And after my 100 days, all I have to do is buy my land, and the group shows up and they build something. They build my one structure on my property. And if I ever want another property built for free, I'll go do another 100 days. You know? So there's definitely some way to circulate uh, the labor so that people could work and kind of work on their own schedule as well. So like somebody like me that has horrible ADHD, like, I mean, if you were offering me a house, I'm showing up every day. I'm not missing a day. I'm working overtime. I could do it. But let's say there's people that are, more heavily disabled and they need to contribute uh in their lives, and or it would be great for them to just get out the house, and if they got out the house for 100 days and then got a house, that'd be amazing, right? So it could be like the 100 days doesn't even have a time limit or anything. If you need to take a break or you even need to take a year off, like that's fine. You just keep working, keep working, keep working on your own schedule. And whenever you hit that 100, you're owed a structure. You know, we can definitely create systems like this, especially, and with people that already have their own money. Like, if it were these types of structures and you were doing something like this, people would just need to have, let's say, and not that this isn't like this is a lot of money. I don't have this much money. But people would just need a piece of land and maybe 10, 20 grand. And you could build them a large, solid, bulletproof, earthquake proof home that will last hundreds and hundreds of years and will barely ever change because of how solid of a structure it is. And they can pass that down to their children and their grandchildren if they need to. So I didn't explain that great because it needs its own episode properly, but that would be how I would like to have the structures built, ideally, in this world, or how I would like, or just another aspect of this chaotic good that I would like to introduce, where I think you can easily create systems to create good housing for people, where it's not going to take a ton, and it doesn't take a lot of knowledge, and they don't have to go to school for it, and they don't have to get a ton of materials. I with the you can build nice structures like this and build most of it out of dirt. So we have our structures, right? I'm just going to move on because that can be its whole own episode. So we have our structures. We've done, our community building system to get some of these structures done. We've probably spent like 10K per structure. We spent 10K on our land, 10 acres. We're at about 30K right now altogether because our carpentry cult helped us out. We didn't have to spend too much money on them. So we're back to regenerate the land because we're in the middle of the desert. Okay, so this is all a very new setup for me, so I'm not sure if you can hear that. Sorry if this audio sucks because I'm talking over their audio, but I tried to put it pretty low. Mute screen audio. Oh yeah, I muted it now, and then I'll unmute it. I don't know. We'll see how it sounds. I'm very new to all this. We're just talking. We're out here being crazies, conspiracy theorist, think tankist, as I'm trying out right now. But anyways, just to talk over it for a second. We're back to regenerate because we're doing all of this on desert land, right? Because that's why we got all this land so cheap in the first place. If we're going to do all this chaotic good, we need it to be cheap because the good guys, we ain't got no money, right? But through the right means and thinking properly, being smart, we can do what money does very cheaply, just with the power of love, with the power of community, right? So here, what we are silently watching in front of us is the story of Al-Beta, a regenerative agriculture in the Saudi desert. So this is a beautiful project that I've been following, and you should go watch this. It's very quick. It's 20 minutes. It's about how they've been bringing back absolute barren desert in Saudi Arabia, and the princess, I forget her name, helped a lot with this project. So for a little bit, a lot of people were talking because China has also done a similar project. A lot of people were talking about like they thought like desert greening was impossible, or they talked about it like it was this thing that was like a literal technology. Like I literally used to hear people talk about desert greening like it was like a gun. Like if you just gotta shoot the desert greening gun and bam, you know, and that's how they did it. And that I think is sometimes what takes us very far away from the reality of the situation and the reality of like what things are and how not necessarily easy, well yeah, easy, and how attainable that things truly are. Because you hear desert greening or you hear the words desert greening technology, and of course you might think it's like some, like some, just machine. You click a few buttons and adjust, and oh, we green the deserts, and wow, they've been keeping this technology from us forever. How dare they? And honestly, I believe in a whole lot. So, in some situations, I could totally see that that is a thing that has been done places. But as far as like basic desert greening on the human level, the communal level that we could do cheaply to start turning things around on chaotic good levels for the betterment of the environment, but also because of our project, which we are trying to give more food to people, right? So, we are building a farm here, of course, to grow the food on to feed the people. If I wasn't uh, clear on that, and the goal after building the farm, because I realize I also abandoned this idea. I'll get better with time. I'll get better, people. Uh, grow to love it. But and the idea of this building this farm and growing this food is that people. Let me pause the video actually. People need better free food because a lot of the food banks, while they're doing their best, the food that is donated from grocery stores, one, it has still been paid for by the grocery store, and then they're paying these large corporations that are doing horrible things to our food. So that sucks that those people are still getting money. But of course, people need to eat. So, it's good to give them food. But that food, because it's donated for free, they take they make sure to only give away food that is almost expired or it's damn near rotten. A lot of the times it has mold. It's just not fresh. If people don't eat it immediately, it's bad. So it's great that a lot of those places exist and are giving that stuff away, but they don't have good stuff to give away. Like, and because at the end of the day, corporate greed, they're going to try to sell it before they give it away for free, and that's just the nature of the game. So we want the farm to grow great food and grow as much of it as we can. We'll have these people, me and my buds, right, in this scenario, living there full time, growing this food, creating new ways and exploring new ways to make food better, uh, and grow more of it, and giving all of this away for free into communities, and seeing what that does, and slowly maybe even getting the small communities in which we install these farms, slowly completely breaking them from the grocery system, because we're giving away so much free food the grocery store can't even compete. And the people that would be giving away all of this free food would be living on these completely self-sustaining farms that are totally regenerative, out of buildings that they know how to build themselves and know how to do the upkeep. And they, because we live in a capitalist society, would still need some money. But they have no reason to do more. Like, free food can be the whole name of the game. Free food, some donations, like, we can create these people that large scale just feed people. You can make free food a human right. So, back to Albedo. We do that in the desert through regenerative agriculture. Because, again, it's not the green machine, turn the desert green. It is regenerative agriculture, people going back to the basics, studying how an environment is supposed to work, and giving that back to the environment, reinstilling the way nature is supposed to work. Because, so, when you watch this documentary, and when you get into any type of regenerative agriculture knowledge, you'll see that what is happening is we've got all this barren land, and on this barren land, nothing is growing because nothing is the way it's supposed to be. So, one thing in nature, generally, is the land is not supposed to, like, the ground, the soil, the dirt, you are not supposed to see. There's supposed to be a layer of debris or something on top of it, because that is how soil, good actual soil, not barren dirt, good soil is created through debris decaying and becoming soil. And those things that decay are nutrition for the plants and the microbes, right? So when you don't have debris on the ground, there's not a lot to decay and become good, nutritious soil for the plants. So one of the biggest reasons, just uh, and I am a huge vegan, but I try not to be too annoying about it. But one of the biggest reasons that a lot of the land is barren in certain areas, there's a lot of different reasons, but one of the biggest reasons right now is because of animal agriculture. So these lands are just getting, like, the you have all these, like, cows or goats or whatever, and they got to be fed so they can get fat and sold, and people will eat them. But that takes, especially if they're grass fed, and a lot of these countries like this, all the animals are grass and grain fed, but they're grass and grain fed in the open, out in uh, the nature, just in the government lands, that's open for everybody, and they roam these places and they eat up all the grass, and they need to eat, and there's so many of them all the time, they eat, and there is no grass, and there is no debris really left. It's just like poop, and the poop would be good, but it's not good on its own. It needs the soil and the other stuff and the microbes that live in the soil to properly break down and become nutrition and get layered in the soil and break down and stuff, right? So what they did and what you can do on small large scales to regenerate earth is number 1, you they had to take the animals away. Y So they had all these farmers agree to not have their animals graze this particular patch of land for quite a long time, and they hated it, but they all agreed because, like, they were like, none of them could even make a profit anymore off of this land, it was so barren, so they all agreed, and they didn't have the goats eat, and some of the natural desert grasses suddenly started to come back, right? And once all the desert grasses and stuff come back, you get lots of clippings, and you gather as much debris, all the natural debris as you can, and you start covering patches of the ground, and you keep them covered. And eventually, because that starts breaking down, and because the direct sunlight isn't coming and killing any new sprout immediately, more plants that are native start arising and coming through as well. And once you have enough of this happening, then you can introduce the animals again in normal quantities that aren't going to, you know, ruin the grass and stuff again. And once you have like a natural level of animals coming in and they're giving their poop and they're uh, chopping down the grass and creating all this debris and creating more soil, and new microbes start awakening in the earth, then you can go in and the soil will be healthy enough for you to actually plant more plants. And over the time of doing this, the actual earth, like the soil changes into a new and better quality that allows you to start farming anything you want, whether it be native plants or not. You can start getting like farm quality soil from this. So the regeneration of the soil on the property that is going to grow all this food for people for free can also essentially be done for free during the construction process, getting back any plants that you don't need, like cutting those down, and then also, like I said, by having composting toilets and maybe just like 1 or 2 donkeys that live on the property that are just pets that are nice, that can, like, maybe you grow a little patch of something for them to eat, and they're what do you call it, grass-fed, poop, these animals that are not omnivores, herbivores, these herbivore animals, their poop is just right out very good fertilizer. So having them on the land to poop and you're not picking it up, or you do scoop it up and you compost it with your compost from your toilet and your food scraps, and you do the wet and hot composting methods where you're wetting that thing down and it's reaching a certain temperature that will kill the bad stuff in it, so you can spread it all over your property, in your garden beds and stuff, and it is usable fertilizer and very, very good stuff to grow food with. So you can have the majority of the stuff that you need for this operation completely just with just using the natural systems of the earth and using the earth itself to build the buildings. Okay, so let's say we've done all the stuff, we grew all the food, we're skipping over, the growing process and stuff, but we're thinking big picture. We're not getting into the details right now. So we've grown the food, we want to give it away, and we need people to eat for free, and we need middle class people and low class people to eat for free and feel good about it and feel empowered about it. Love this free food. Love that it's free. Love that they didn't pay a cent for it. Feel better about eating this free food than they would anything else, right? Because again, the issue other than poor food quality sometimes being given away, is that people who need free food that aren't homeless people are often far too embarrassed to get food from the systems that are willing to give it to them, even if they have more than enough, even if it's great food quality. So we need to start changing people's minds around this, and we need to get free food associated with radical thought, associated with good deeds, associated with food is a human right. You shouldn't pay for food. To pay for food is to essentially, I don't know. I was gonna say like give up your human right. It's not giving up your human rights, but like we need people to get very radicalized behind this and to understand that like the majority of food that you eat should be free because food grows on trees, and trees give hundreds of thousands of seeds of their fruits. There is no reason that any person should ever be eating an apple that they paid for, you know? Like, and that's something that can be done even in a totally, let's say, we're doing this in a world where it is our world, this think tank, this thought project. It is not some socialist haven, So I think that Uh, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, well, I lost where I was going with that, but basically, I think that the route to go would to be to like create a campaign with some volunteers, and if like I was really popping, like maybe some donations are really rolling in at this point. People are like, "Oh, we love the free food place," and they're donating. I think the thing to do is to create a like meme army. Like I would find like I would just find some comedians. Comedians are always desperate for work, and maybe find some that were volunteer or pay them very little just as like a stipend. If the donations are really rolling in, of course, full price, pay 'em more than enough. Pay them double what they usually get, right? But in the real world, probably get some volunteer comedians and people that are just great at the internet and start groups, right? And get people behind this idea of food should be free and meme it to death. Find absolutely every way to say this in a funny way, say it in a, I don't know, inspiring way, just to like really inoculate the culture with the idea that, you know, it's good to eat for free. It's cool to eat for free. Oh yeah, maybe I do have a couple of dollars for a burger or whatever, but or some groceries, but the free food farm just gave it all is giving me it for free. Like that should be made a good, cool, awesome thing, a radical thing, because you, the person getting free food, are actively taking money out of the pockets of some of the richest, most powerful, most oppressive corporations that we have in our society right now. And once you can get massive amounts of people thinking about it like that in communities and really sending these memes around and getting the kids thinking like that, you can start giving more food away for free and people will eat more for free. And every meal eaten for free is a giant, giant hit to massive oppressive powers. But it also is feeding people for free. Okay, so our massive meme campaign has worked, right? We've had the best comedians. Sorry if this is jumpy. I just keep pausing this thing and ending it in random places. But we're getting the points together. And the concept is concepting, you know? So we've got people's minds change. You know, we've our meme army has worked. People they're percolating about free food. Yeah, I should be eating food. Yeah, you know what? I guess I am low class, and it is kind of messed up how most of my paycheck either goes to house or feed me. It would be nice to have a couple hundred extra dollars, to live my life and maybe see the world or spend some more time with my kids. That'd be nice, right? So people's minds are changed. They're coming to our farm. They are getting their free food. We're delivering it to them. Things are going great. But we live in this capitalist society. We're not in a socialist bubble completely, right? So how do we continue to fund this and grow? Because people are giving us donations through the community, and that's great. But you know, it's also like you don't want to have to just ask for donations. And if you're coming to a community to help it, it's because the community needs help. They shouldn't also have to fund their help. It'd be great if they can, and sure we can help them that way. But how do we make more money to give away more food and to possibly, you know, through our other project, we'll focus on food, but through our other project, we could also build more buildings, right? And give people more houses. So, how do we fund this with what we have and what we, have already done? So, we have what we started out on our 10 acres and our two buildings with our, three or four people. And from there, I would imagine, let's say those people worked on 5 acres to start and they got that together. Because if it's your first time doing this and you're also regenerating land, it's going to take, you got to regenerate the land in sections. And, you're probably not going to work on the entire thing all at once unless you're just ball in, unless your people got some money, right? So I think what we could do is keep up with our culture of building from nothing and using the literal earth beneath our feet to create what we need to change society. So, because we can create structures from Earth, we can really create anything. You can create anything that you can put your mind to with this Earth. You just have to imagine that the Earth and these Earth bags, these hyper Adobe layers, these super Adobe layers, imagine them like clay or like Legos, in which you can make anything that you want with these layers, with these bags. So if we've already got the land and we've already got the dirt on our property, oh, is that my cat? Oh, do you need food? I'll get you some food. Hold on. So we've got the dirt on our property. We can use that to create an area for events and parties with just some basic dirt layers. You can make dirt stairs, all of this stuff. You could create a great stage area. You could create a couple of stage areas. You could even build like patio furniture from this dirt. You could build like a cool you could build couches from the dirt, and you could have some, pillows put in, and it would look like a patio couch, except for the actual structure of the couch was made from these earthen bricks. You can make earthen tables. You see what I'm getting? This can be an entire large scale outdoor event space. It could even be for like raves. You could have a big outdoor event rave space on the other 5 acres of the property. And you could rent that out for a lot of money. All you have to do is get some water there and some bathrooms and maybe one or two structures for just basic needs. To large Renting this out to like large loud parties and people that just want to, do something in the desert and not have, like, I think it would be great for ravers. It could be if you have like a very beautiful area. It could definitely go great for weddings, any type of large scale outdoor activities. And this, because of the size and how much you could build, and if you're lucky, the views, you could charge a decent amount of money on lots of very easily accessible websites for people to come use this property. And the people who already live there full time, me and my friends in this scenario, can work the events to make sure no one's messing up the farm, and keep an eye on everything. And this area can fund both the people who are living there as well as fund the continuation of giving away food on this large scale and opening the next farm to give away more free food on an even larger scale. We are basically at the end of this podcast because I've been talking quite a while now. You've got the basic concept of what I'm trying to do. I probably could have done a better, very quick TLDR explanation in the beginning, but first round back, we're getting there. So I just wanted to wrap this up by saying I think that this free food aspect, it once again, it's an important first step in doing absolute good, revolutionary, chaotic good. Because one, people need free food because a lot of people are starving, and a lot of people are spending too much money on food every month, every week. And then on top of that, the food that we get is bad a lot of the times. So not only do people need food, they need good food, and that good food often comes with more nutrition, especially through regenerative farming and bringing the land back. And regenerative farming is often also, it's organic farming, unless people are just being absolutely crazy and not doing it right. So through methods like regenerative farming, and I'll talk about even like Korean natural farming methods as well another time, uh, you can bring the nutrition level of food back up. And I would also want these people, like I would have them, the way that what we've done to weed, bringing up THC levels and stuff, like it's insane. Like we've truly changed the drug. And I don't want to, do anything crazy to food, but I think that attention to detail of, picking the stuff at the right time and paying attention to like different nutrition profiles can really be applicable to food, and people can do those things and make food the best food that it's ever been, and not just in GMO ways to make the bugs go away, but to make people's brains work better, So that is the number one step in chaotic good and doing revolutionary things for the community, because in the books that literally teach these people how to impart bad onto societies, the number one thing for being a excellent candidate for brainwashing and mind control is you first have to uh give them poor nutrition. Like I forget what words that they use, but you first affect the food and the quality of food that people are getting, so that they're never thinking at 100%. So not only do you want to feed people, but you are also restoring their power to think again. Because once people are fed in their most basic sense, once the nutrition is actually kicking and those parts of their minds actually light up again because they finally had that vitamin and they finally had these things and their hormones are not out of whack, they can have a second and be like, oh, wait, you know, fucked up how people just die because they don't have insurance. Like suddenly you can be involved and things start work. So nutrition and is the number one first key, I think. And I think it can be done through this process very easily, that I will keep adding to, and maybe next time I'll get better with the numbers and we can see like exactly how much dollar for dollar would it cost to build like our first structures, or how can we in deep detail build this housing community system of we each build each other house, because